Good morning. Thanks for joining us for our midday newscast. I'm Marcus Washington.
And I'm Laura Garcia. We are awaiting a news conference from President Biden and Governor Newsom as multiple wildfires continue to burn in Southern California, one of which has already turned deadly. We have a live look at one of them, the Altadena fire. It has literally exploded in size. NBC Bay Area's Kris Sanchez will have that part of the story coming up in just moments.
But first, NBC News' Jennifer Borklund is on the ground right now at the Palisades fire. This is in Pacific Palisades. And Jennifer, needless to say, first responders there they have their hands full.
Oh, this is unbelievable, Marcus. Laura, I have covered fires my entire career living in California, starting with the Oakland Hills fire, which all of your viewers, I'm sure, are very familiar with. But I got to tell you, I have never seen winds sustained in the direction that they're going for this amount of time. It's been 24 hours, and still you can see the flags around here. This wind is blowing this way towards the ocean, bringing the fire down the hill. And actually, last night it jumped over PCH, Pacific Coast Highway. We're in the Gladstone's parking lot here, and the Baywatch lifeguard stands were burned, and some of the homes along PCH this way were burned on the water side. So this is a fire of an intensity that we have not seen in a generation in this area. And just even living an hour from here in the valley, the winds were sustained overnight for so long that it was just unbelievable. They just didn't let up, and they aren't expected to let up until the weekend in any big way. So the number one thing that usually happens overnight is the fire lays down and the firefighters have a chance to kind of get in there and do some good work. That didn't happen overnight. Overnight was the worst wind period, and they had to actually ground all the helicopters that usually are able to go in and make those very precise water drops. Without that, because they are less effective and more dangerous, in this wind, any helicopter dropping fire, the water will dissipate before it even hits the ground. So it's totally ineffective and also very dangerous. So very little advantage to that. So in the absence of that, fire crews just have to do their best with hoses. The water evaporates as the fire comes down like a blowtorch. So this has been a very, very difficult time here in LA County, for everybody involved all over the city. It's like darkness, it's like night, and it's not going to let up anytime soon. Marcus, Laura.
Jennifer, it is simply heartbreaking for us to watch up here in Northern California. We wish you and your crew the very best. We know you've done extensive coverage there. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
Now, of course, Pacific Palisades not the only fire wreaking havoc at this hour. We want to turn now to Kris Sanchez. She has been tracking 3 other wildfires, triggering evacuations, and really carving a path of destruction there. So, Kris, one of those fires, as Laura was just saying earlier, it's already been deadly.
Right. So sadly, we can confirm that 2 people died in the Eaton fire, which is burning in the Altadena, Pasadena area, along with the Angeles National Forest, which just exploded in size overnight because of those winds that Jennifer Borklund was talking about. The Eaton fire now at 10,600 acres, and the danger, as she said, is far from over, and in fact is getting worse. Now, by daylight, you can see not only the destruction of the Eaton fire there in the Pasadena area, but the fire that also continues to burn in the areas where there isn't really much left to burn, and there are also injuries among the residents there and also among the firefighters. Now, overnight, a Pasadena nursing home had to be evacuated, and you see healthcare workers pushing some of the patients away in wheelchairs. There was a city bus that came to pick them up because there weren't enough ambulances. The evacuation order warned of immediate threat to life. The wildfire is raging unchecked and again is now more than 10,000 acres. At a press conference today, fire and law enforcement from around LA County echoed the same message. They said, if you are told to get out, you have to get out.
We want to make sure that everybody understands we are absolutely not out of danger yet.
But if you are told to evacuate and given an order, there is nothing worth your life.
The longer that you wait to evacuate, the more you are putting people in danger who are putting their lives on the line.
And sadly, we already know that several firefighters have been injured. Now, the Hearst fire is also threatening the San Fernando Valley now and the surrounding area. This one started just before 10:30 last night. And while it's just at about 500 acres right now, we have seen how fast these Santa Ana winds can fuel those flames and really drive them in another direction. Fire officials say it is burning in the footprint of the 9,000-acre Saddle Ridge fire of 2019. There is also a fourth fire burning, the 7,500-acre Woodley fire that started at 6:15 this morning near the Sepulveda Basin. If you are familiar with that area, the LA fire chief says Southern California agencies right now are stretched to maximum capacity. And that's why an Alameda County strike team took off for the fire lines overnight. They are now joining firefighters from San Francisco, Oakland, Hayward, Fremont, Oregon, Nevada, and Washington State. Firefight far from over, with CAL FIRE bracing for more dangerous conditions. And overnight, Governor Newsom announced that he had secured FEMA funds for the firefight. We expect to hear from Governor Newsom, who may be joined by President Biden, who was already in Southern California, where his event yesterday had to be delayed because of this windstorm. But Kari, very disheartening to hear that the winds are going to be sticking around for a while.
Well, yeah, we saw it with Jennifer's live shot there. You heard them. I mean, they're up against so much with these winds, and they're high.
It's just unbelievable to see this going on. And this is the highest level of a threat of a fire danger that we could possibly see. And then we wanted to get you oriented with this map of the 4 fires that are burning. Actually, the numbers of acres burned has just gone beyond what we had even in the last hour. So the Palisades fire near the coast, just to the north and west of Santa Monica. We have the Woodley fire that is also continuing to burn very quickly. And then the Hearst fire that you see that's just west of San Fernando. And then we have the Eaton fire that is also off towards the east of Glendale. So just looking at all of those fires on the map and this red flag warning that has been extended through tomorrow. And it may not be until Friday when the wind starts to calm down. With the Santa Ana wind event, we get high pressure that builds east of the Sierra. That forces the wind to come through the mountain. And as it does so, it's compressed and warmed up, but it also dries out as it moves through the desert, and any remaining humidity continues to decrease as it squeezes through those canyons and creates those very strong winds that we've seen topping over 100 miles per hour in some of these cases. So we have the hot, dry conditions as well as the very high fire danger as all of this wind blows offshore. And you saw in Jennifer's live shot just how strong those winds are blowing. Yesterday, we saw this fire explode, the Palisades fire. And this has been the case for a lot of the fires that have been developing. And then the embers that are created from those flames as they go up in the air creates that rapid rate of spread. We are still seeing winds at 70 to 80 miles per hour sustained. And then into the evening, we're looking at 30 to 40 miles per hour, those winds that will continue. Even as the wind calms down tonight, we know that a fire that large can create its own weather conditions. You start to get fire nados and fire whirls, which spreads the fire even farther and in different, very erratic directions. So you can see that even as the wind remains quite brisk through tomorrow and into the next couple of days, this is such a dangerous situation that we're seeing unfolding. And we also have been talking about how dry it is in Southern California, only getting 0 to 10% of their normal amount of rainfall, only a few hundredths of an inch of rainfall over the past couple of months. And so it remains critically dry. We've also had some winds here in the Bay Area. Right now, it's mainly in the hills and mountains, some of those upper elevations. And we are seeing some much better conditions despite the high winds because of the amount of rainfall we've had recently. So we're watching this and also monitoring what's going on in Southern California. Definitely our thoughts and all of our prayers are with all of our friends and family there in Southern California. Back to you.
Completely. How can they not be? Thank you so much, Kari. Of course, we'll continue to bring you updates on these wildfires throughout our newscast and on our website, NBCBayArea.com. We're constantly updating everything for you. Make sure you also download our app to stay current.